The bond market's on the edge of a precipice. The stock market absolutely is on the edge of a precipice. The 10,000 cryptocurrencies are on the edge of a precipice. And quite bluntly, there is always money. And what's going to happen is money is going to go to the only safe haven, and the only safe haven happens to be gold and silver.
Here at Liberty and Finance, we're licensed brokers with Miles Franklin. We are standing by the inventory, ready to make sure you get what you need, even into the wee hours of night and on weekends, because preparedness doesn't stop. Call us 1-888-81-LIBERTY. That's 1-888-815-4237.
Hey everyone, this is Elijah K. Johnson with Liberty and Finance. And back with us today is one of our favorite guests, Bob Moriarty, the author of Nobody Knows Anything, and also Basic Investing in Resource Stocks. Bob, thank you so much for joining us today.
It's a genuine pleasure.
It's great to have you back. Now, the last interview I feel like was a bit prophetic. So what you had mentioned was that the crash has begun. It started. And you were mentioning this regarding the stock market. And really since then, we have seen from the beginning of the year, this incredible pullback, especially in the NASDAQ, but also in the Dow and the S&P, around, from 5% for the Dow, and it went as low as 15% for the NASDAQ. So your perspective on what we're seeing, and does this confirm your view that this is the crash that a lot of people have been waiting for?
If you use the comparison of an avalanche starting, an avalanche starts at the very top of the mountain with a single snowflake. And it gets bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger. And it's not a true avalanche until it hits bottom. If you go back to 1929 to 1932, the Dow went down 89%. By just about every measure, we are more absurd today. And I think in hindsight, 2 or 3 years from now, we're going to realize a 90% decline is entirely possible. Yes, I think it's started. You didn't mention bonds, but bonds have had some of the biggest crashes in the last 2 weeks they've had in history. So the overall financial system is extremely precarious now. Gold and gold stocks and silver stocks are the lowest to the S&P they've been in 100 years. So I'm not saying they can't go down. I'm saying they're probably the safest place you can be. NFTs are blowing up. The cryptocurrencies are blowing up. Tesla is blowing up. Facebook was down, 20% in one day? I mean, these are incredible moves in financial markets.
And you're saying how, the avalanche starts with a snowflake, right? So is that what we're seeing right now, this little trickling down of stocks? At the end of the day, that 5 to 15% isn't a huge move. But you're looking for, as you mentioned, a 90% move down before this is all said and done?
Absolutely correct. And that may seem crazy, but if you go back, do you happen to remember how high silver went in 1980?
Up to about $50, right?
$50. Now it's $50.25 on January 21st. But 5 years later, it was $5 an ounce. So even silver can go down 90%. So yes, what you're going to see is a decline, and then there'll be a dead cat bounce, and there'll be another decline, there'll be another dead cat bounce. And if you go back and you reread what the professionals were saying in 1929 and 1930 and 1931, they never recognized it for what it was. But when you have a financial system that is so distorted today, Uh, you just can't fix it without major changes, and we're going to see them. And likewise, gold and silver are going to be incredibly attractive.
Now, a lot of the guests I interview, it seems like, are in kind of two different camps. Pretty much everyone I talk to is saying that the stock market is incredibly overvalued. The two different camps, one of the camps is saying that the crash is happening right now, and the other is saying, no, we're going to have a melt-up phase before that where everything just goes completely parabolic. We could see, up to 45,000 in the Dow before this crash actually is underway. So your perspective on that, why do you believe the crash has already started and we're not going to reverse into a parabolic move?
A lot of it is just pure gut feel. The people calling for the parabolic move, there were a lot of people last fall, but it was a very lonely camp calling for a crash. Now, I've posted a few pieces lately by some of the top financial guys in the industry, and they're saying, hey, guys, that's it. This is the crash. So my opinion, and it is just an opinion like anybody else's, my opinion is the crash started. It's going to get far worse. And I think we've actually seen the parabolic moves. I mean, you cannot have the absurdities of NFTs and cryptocurrencies and Tesla and Apple and Facebook. My God, that was the melt up. And what all the guys calling for a melt up, what they're all ignoring is that 50% of stocks are at yearly lows. Now that isn't a top, that isn't a melt up. That means, hey, there's a serious problem. I got involved in the market in 1970, and there was something called the Nifty 50. And there was Avon, there was IT&T, there was AT&T. There were 50 stocks that couldn't go down. And they didn't go down until the crash really got going. And we're in the same position now. When Facebook is down 20% today, you're not going to have a melt up.
As we record this on Monday, February 14th, we're seeing a Fed meeting, actually a Fed emergency meeting. What is your perspective on how the Fed will respond to this as we're seeing weakness in the markets? Will they still raise rates coming soon?
Yes, and I'm going to guess, because you and I were just talking about this. The meeting started at 11:30. It's about 1:40 now. They haven't come out and said something, which means they're definitely arguing about it. And I think they're going to come out with a 0.5% to 1% move. But here's the deal. If you work the math out, how do you cure 7.5% inflation with a 2 or 3% federal funds rate is? And the answer is you can't possibly. Okay, they're going to do too little, too late. They were the guys who poured the gin into the punch bowl. Everybody's drunk now, and it's time to sober up.
And how will this crash then impact the precious metal prices? We are seeing quite a bit of a rally we saw last week. And yeah, I mean, we're seeing gold back around 1860 and silver in the high 23s.
I think that gold and silver are the last remaining safe haven. Now, if you take the price of oil, if you take the price of the food commodities, if you take the price of copper, everybody else has already had their rally. And gold and silver just sitting there going, we're going to do something someday. I think the time is now. And I think that, I was in the market in the 60s and 70s, and I saw stocks go from 40 cents to $40. You're going to have the same thing now. I've been writing article after article after article about gold stocks. We have some of the best gold stocks in the last 100 years. Gold stocks, copper stocks, lithium stocks, graphite stocks. There are some extraordinary deals right now. Everybody's bored silly because they think they can double their money overnight in Tether. And it's Gold and silver are the last game in town. It is the bunker, and it's time to head for the bunker.
It is quite amazing to think about what kind of moves the mining stocks could make if we do see a huge rise in precious metals. Are you saying like a 10 to 1 move, 100 to 1? What are you looking for?
I can't do that, and I know a lot of people believe they can. I just say gold and silver and go a lot higher. But I'll point another thing out. You could be one of those believers in $5,000 silver and $50,000 gold, and that could happen. But you don't want to live in a world with $5,000 silver. Take my word.
It seems like a lot of things are coming to a head very soon. And as you mentioned, I mean, a lot of scary things as well. If we do see precious metals that high, it means the world is in a place we definitely don't want it to be. A lot of people are concerned about the Ukraine-Russia situation. You were on our program last time and saying things are heating up. This could be World War III. Biden has already advised all Americans to leave Ukraine. So where does this situation stand right now?
Okay, we've got a really interesting anomaly going on, and I'm going to shift it a little bit. Let's look at Canada and the truckers' protest. Now, if you listen to Trudeau, these are a bunch of Nazis, a bunch of Confederate flag-waving racists who want to destroy Canada. If you actually look at the Canadians, they're showing you this is a way to hold a peaceful protest to get your point across. So what I'm saying is we got this enormous divide that it's bigger than anything I've ever seen in history. Now, it doesn't make any difference to me. If you're for Trudeau, more power to you. If you're for the truck drivers, more power to you. But there is this divide that just cannot be reconciled. So let's take a look at Ukraine and Russia. First of all, Russia did not move their troops to the Ukrainian border. The Ukrainians moved their troops to the border of Donbass. Russia said, okay, if you're going to do that, we're going to respond. So they moved their troops, and they are prepared to invade Ukraine should they need to. What does Putin want? He wants to guarantee the security of Russia. I don't find that unreasonable. What does Biden want and the advisors he's got himself surrounded with? We just lost a war in Afghanistan against goat herders. So we want to take on Russia and China at the same time. Now, again, we've got this enormous divide. We've got one guy who's saying, I want security for my country. I do not want nuclear missiles on the border. And on the other hand, you've got somebody saying, well, we sponsored a coup d'etat in Ukraine. And, if we could start another war, we'll probably win this one. We've lost the last 15 wars, but that was just an accident. We couldn't fight a good-sized troop of Girl Scouts and win. So the idea that the United States has some vested interest in Ukraine is one of the most absurd things I've ever seen. Nobody gives a shit about Ukraine, including the Ukrainians, okay? But if they push Putin has made it clear you don't want to do that. There will be an expensive price to pay. Today, the president of Ukraine said, we are not going to negotiate with Donbass, which was the core of the Minsk II agreement in 2016. And we want them back. And we do want to join NATO. And Putin said, there is this line in the sand, and if you cross that line, I'll nuke you. And the line in the sand is NATO. And I hate to point this out. Do you remember what NATO stands for? North Atlantic Treaty Organization. What part of the North Atlantic does the Ukraine border? It doesn't border the North Atlantic. It has nothing to do with the North Atlantic. You could call it the South Atlantic Treaty Organization. It would be just as effective. Here's the key. We have nothing in Ukraine that is worth fighting for, period. And you've got a bunch of nutcases in Washington working for Joe Biden who want a war no matter what the cost is. And I've been at war. I was in Vietnam for 2 years. I'm going to tell you, war is a really bad idea.
Now, what are the signs you're looking for to kind of confirm that we are going to war over this situation?
All I have to do is keep pushing Putin. When I was in high school, we had a question in logic. And the question was, what happens when an immovable object meets an irresistible force? If you've got an immovable object and an irresistible force, when they come together, you get unmeasurable energy. Now, the question has to be, is the Ukraine worth starting World War III? And for Putin, the answer is yes. And for the rest of the world, the answer is no. The irresistible force are the neocons who will do anything to start another war. And the immovable object is Putin. And Putin's made it clear. I mean, Putin's not asking for anything outrageous. It is a matter of international law that one country does not have the right to affect the internal security of another country. That is part of international law. Now, what the hell are we doing talking about putting nuclear weapons in Ukraine? And based on what the president of Ukraine said today and what the Russians have done, the Russians, Duma, are meeting, and there are two proposals in front of them, and that is to make Donbass part of Russia. And if they do that, it would be perfectly legal internationally, and the Russians could move into Donbass and move into Crimea. And if the Ukrainians did anything about it, they could flatten Ukraine and take Kiev in 2 days. So you got this situation where we could have peace if Ukraine would do what they agreed to do in 2016, and the United States would butt out. The United States and the UK have no interest in Ukraine. So why are they running their mouths?
In this situation, then, how do we prepare for what's coming? Because it seems like it's very difficult to prepare for World War III.
That's true. There is nothing that you could do that would be irrational. Building a bunker would be rational. Buying a year's supply of food would be rational. Moving outside the United States or the UK would be entirely rational. Those are all things that rational and reasonable people would do. Now, I happen to be in a very safe part of the world that has food and has access, and I'm nowhere near a military target. We're literally never land. We're in such a weird place. There is nothing that you could do that would be irrational, that could even come close to what the United States and this administration is doing and what Trudeau is doing up in Canada.
Now, how do you see, as this situation progresses, the markets being impacted?
Catastrophically, and I mean both up and down. If Russia votes and says, yes, we're going to allow Donbass to become part of Russia, and they move troops into Donbass, it's going to be catastrophic for Ukraine. It's going to be catastrophic in a down way for the bond market. And people are coming out and saying now, why would anybody want to hold a long-term bond? If you got 7.5% inflation, why would you want to hold a long-term bond at 2 or 3%? It is a guaranteed confiscation of your money. So the bond market's on the edge of a precipice. The stock market absolutely is on the edge of a precipice. The 10,000 cryptocurrencies are on the edge of a precipice. And quite bluntly, there is always money. And what's going to happen is money is going to go to the only safe haven, and the only safe haven happens to be gold and silver.
All right. Well, Bob Moriarty, we really appreciate your time today and very interesting insights, and we'll have to continue to track all of this with you as the situation continues to unfold. So before we let you go, if our viewers are interested in where can they find you, and will you remind our viewers of the books and where they can find this?
Okay. They can find me at 321 Gold and 321 Energy. And I've got about 6 or 7 books now. I've got 3 books on finance, and those books are available on Amazon. And I think they're $5 a piece for Nobody Knows Anything and Basic Investing in Resource Stocks. And anybody who can't afford that probably shouldn't be in the market.
And what we'll do is in the description of this video, we'll put a link to your Amazon account there so people can just see all your author page there. Well, Bob, once again, thank you so much for your time, and God bless.
Okay, thank you. Talk to you next time.
Miles Franklin Precious Metals is one of America's oldest and most trusted bullion dealers. Miles Franklin is A+ rated and accredited by the Better Business Bureau, licensed and bonded, and has 0 complaints ever registered. Here at Liberty and Finance, we are licensed brokers with Miles Franklin. To order, simply call us, discuss your needs, and we will let you know our live inventory, prices, and availability, and lock in your order over the phone. Once your order is locked, the price is held for you regardless of market fluctuations, and the metals are reserved for you awaiting your settled payment. Within 1 business day of ordering, you will receive an email invoice detailing the order and payment instructions. Miles Franklin accepts payments by bank wire, ACH or electronic check, money order, check mailed priority mail, and cryptocurrency. The fastest forms of payment are bank wire and cryptocurrency. Upon settled payment, metals will ship out within 3 to 5 business days. You will receive tracking information via email. Domestic shipping charges are $15 for any order under 500 ounces of silver or 10 ounces of gold. For orders larger than that, domestic shipping is free. The package will be double boxed, fully insured, and labeled discreetly, with no indication of the contents inside. For your privacy, the name Miles Franklin will not even be on the package. To talk to myself, Elijah, my brother Kaiser, or my father Dunnigan, call 1-888-81-LIBERTY. That's 1-888-815-4237.